Hi everyone, it's Jung here. Today I'm sharing a couple of projects that I made using the Spellbinders March 2020 Large Die of the Month. And you see all the dies that you get in the kit there to the left. And I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first piece I'm going to get started on is the 3D basket, and you see that I just taped two of the die pieces together. One of them die cuts the outside of the basket, and one of them die cuts and embosses the pattern in the basket. And I am going to die cut that from the aqua colored cardstock. I'm going to cut the two bunnies from white cardstock. The inner pieces for the ears and the little tails are all together in one die, and I die cut that from that light pink cardstock. And for the dark pink cardstock, I cut some of the flowers. I'm going to use my Spellbinders all-in-one tool and just kind of poke things out. If I was smarter, I would have remembered to keep the eyes and nose that were die cut, and I could have just colored it in with some Copic markers, but I didn't think about that, and so of course I couldn't find them all, and I will fix that later on and I'll show you. So for the bunnies, the eyes and nose are die cut out, but it does emboss the little whiskers, and it die cuts one of the arm flaps so that you can tuck it into the basket. So to make the 3D basket, you are going to need to die cut two of these basket pieces. And then the little flap that you'll see that kind of helps make it into a 3D basket, you'll need to die cut that 3 times. And you see I'm going to use the leftover inner piece for the basket to die cut them, that piece right there. And I'm going to go ahead and get another piece of aqua cardstock for my second basket piece. And then since I like to fill up my die cutting plate and run it through as few passes as possible, I'm going to be die cutting some leaves and flowers. You'll see that I die cut them several times out of different colored pink cardstock, yellow cardstock, and I believe I use a coral cardstock as well. So there are 2 dies that cut 2 leaf images each, and I die cut them from various colors of green as well, just for some variety. And here's the piece that I said that you needed to die cut 3 times. It has little embossed lines that'll show you how to fold it, and I'll show you how we do that once we get there. I'm also die cutting the lower half of this basket with white cardstock to kind of back the aqua colored basket. I'm going to need to die cut that white piece twice for the 3D basket portion, and again I will need to die cut the little tab 3 times. I'm making sure to die cut enough of the leaves and the flowers in different colored cardstock. And then this is how I will solve my eyes and nose problems. I'm just going to die cut the face area from black cardstock, and then I will inlay that in. So off camera, I went ahead and die cut another set for a card, but let's go ahead and get the 3D basket made. This is the inner white piece that I showed you that I die cut twice, and I'm going to show you it just kind of finishes out the basket, and I feel like it made the basket stronger for the 3D portion, especially if you're going to fill it with items. I was just showing you here what the bunny looks like without the white panel and with. I think it's fine either way. These are the 3 tab pieces. That one, I just use a scrap piece. That's why it's a little messed up. So for 2 of the tabs, you want to cut it in half, just like I'm showing you there. And then I'm going to go ahead and score along the lines. It's hard to see on camera, but there is a score line right down the middle. And I'm going to go ahead and score them all. There is also a score line that makes a kind of tab on each side, and you see I will score all of those as well. Okay, so now I'm going to glue the white panel to the back of the basket. I'm just going to trim the excess handle part off. In hindsight, you could have probably just die cut the whole thing with the handle to reinforce the handles as well, but I just cut it from the bottom. And I'm just going to use some liquid glue to glue that together, and I'm going to do the same for the other side. Now I'm going to go ahead and assemble the 3D basket portion. For the larger tab piece, the one that I didn't cut in half, I will line it up with the bottom of the basket. And I just added some liquid glue to the tab portion. You could use liquid glue or some really thin double-sided tape. And then I'm going to glue the two side pieces. I'm kind of eyeballing it. I'm just making sure the top one lines up with the top of the basket. And then I will just kind of place the bottom one next to it. And I'm going to do the same for the other side. Now I'm just going to glue the pieces to the other side of the basket. I will start with the bottom first, just like I did with the first panel. And then I will go on to the sides of the basket. I'm just using my liquid glue, and then I'll use the help of my reverse tweezers just to help keep things in place while the glue sets. And I really love how this basket turns out. You'll see in my photo later that I added some chocolate eggs to them. And this would be such a cute little way to give just a little something for your kids if you don't go all out and do Easter baskets, especially if you have like teens. You could put a gift card in there, some chocolate bunnies or their favorite candy, jelly beans, whatever it may be. But I really love the way this one turned out. And it doesn't even have to be just for Easter. If you left the bunnies out, you can use the basket portion for any occasion, really. It's just a basket, and you can decorate it with the flowers if you want to. Okay, so I'm going to get started on the bunnies. I just added a piece of double-sided tape to the back of the bunny's face so I can inlay the eyes and nose. They are really tiny, so I'm going to be using a little tool to help me pick them up. One thing that I didn't think about in the beginning is I'm making these bunnies for the 3D basket, so the back will show. And when I'm making these bunnies for a card, I don't really have to worry about the back since they'll be stuck onto a card base. So what I end up doing is die cutting another plain bunny in white, and I just glue it to the back so you don't see the double-sided tape. So right now I am going to be gluing the inner parts of the ear that I die cut from the light pink cardstock. I will also be gluing on the cute little tail, and then I come back with a light pink Copic marker and I draw on some cute little cheeks. In case you were wondering, the Copic color that I used was BV10. I could have went around the edges with a little bit of colorless blender, but these bunnies are so small, it really didn't need it. I went ahead and did the same thing for the larger bunny, and now I'm going to tuck them in to see where I like the spacing before I glue them in. Now I'm just going to use a little bit of liquid glue and just glue the bunny to the inside of the front part of the basket. And I will do the same for the little one. The only thing is you don't see their cute little bunny tails. So that is cute as it is, but I am going to be using some of the leaves and the flowers just to dress it up a bit, and I like to use a variety of colors even in the greens. I think it just adds a little bit more interest. I'm going to choose a few of the green pieces and I'm going to adhere them to my basket with liquid glue, both behind the basket and in front of the basket. And if I really wanted to, I could probably die cut another set of the bunnies and even more leaves and flowers and decorate both the front and the back, but I'm just going to be decorating the front of this basket. Also, I'm purposely just adding liquid glue to the bottom part of the leaf, and that's because I want the top portions to kind of lift off of the basket to give it more dimension and texture. Speaking of dimension, I'm going to roll the middle of these flowers just with the tip of my needle for my glue. And I know they have a tool for this, but this works just fine. And I just kind of roll it under a foam pad. That little white piece is a foam pad. And that allows the, I guess, petals to stick up some and to give it some more dimension. And then I'm just going to adhere them to my basket. Like I said, I die cut them from pinks and corals and purples and yellows. And it also, the floral piece also die cuts the center. So if you see in my little heart tray there, you see a lot of little confetti looking dots, and that's for the center of the flower. Another tip, if you didn't want to mess with the little centers of the flowers, you could use Nouveau drops or perfect pearls or even little gems. Here is my basket all done, and you can see it stands up perfectly. It is a little front heavy, but it still stands up. Here's what the back looked like, and I went ahead and die cut 2 extra of the white bunnies and just glued it to the back. Okay, so I went ahead and did all this work off camera for my card, and I made it just like I did for the basket part, except I didn't do the second back side of the basket or the tabs. But everything else I did the same. Also, I didn't use a white inside panel so you can see through the basket there. I'm going to go ahead and start working on my background panel, and I decided to do a little bit of Distress Oxide ink blending. I'm using a cloud stencil, and I'm going to just lightly brush on some clouds. I don't have any of the fancy blender brushes, so I'm just using a old makeup brush that I got on clearance, and it seems to be working just fine, although I haven't tried the blender brushes, so I couldn't really say. The contrast between the white clouds and the blue sky was a little much, so I wiped off the excess ink on a paper towel, and then I just lightly brushed over the area with the brush to get a little bit of the residual blue, and I think that looks a lot better. Now I'm just going to slightly ink blend some green onto the bottom part of the background just to give it that, I guess, grassy look. And here is my background finished with my bunny basket. I'm going to also add some items from the Spellbinders Glimmer of the Month for March, also on this card. I used the foil plates to add the designs onto some cardstock, and then I used one of the smallest egg dies to die cut them out. And then I'm also using a sentiment, and those were also part of the March 2020 Glimmer of the Month. I'm going to go ahead and pop up the background panel with some foam tape, and I'm adhering it to an A2 size card base. And then I will add my basket filled with bunnies, which I have already added a whole bunch of little foam strips to. And then once I get the basket adhered to the background, I am going to add the little eggs, and I will use a combination of liquid glue and foam tape just to give it even more dimension. And then I will add the sentiment. I really love how the monthly kits really coordinate with each other. Like I said, the eggs and the sentiment were from the Glimmer of the Month for March, and they work perfectly on this card. For the sentiments, I'm using Happy Easter, but there were little words that you could put together that you could spell out Happy Spring or Easter wishes. I am going to be choosing this dark pink Happy Easter. I think it looked better on the card, and I'm going to pop that up with some foam tape as well. To finish off my card, I went ahead and added some glossy accents to the eyes and nose for the bunny. And then I added some Nuvo clear glitter drops to the centers of the flowers. And I did that off camera, but you can see a little bit of that here. Yeah, you can see the shine. And you'll be able to see that in the pictures as well. I haven't added them to this basket yet, but as you can see in the picture coming up, you'll see the glitter centers of the flowers. And I decided to use the glitter drops for the eyes and nose for these bunnies. I really love the basket filled with chocolate eggs. They would be so cute on a desk or even a table with guest names on them. They would be perfect for table settings. And I love how my card turned out as well. Don't forget to check out the info bar for the links to the Spellbinders website. And I thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye.